Introducing you to people across North Carolina and around the world who put their Catholic faith into action. This is FaithWorks on Catholic 540 AM Divine Mercy Radio. Now, here's your host for FaithWorks, Ellen White.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of FaithWorks on Divine Mercy Radio. Our show highlights individuals through God's grace who put their faith into action daily. Amazing people who have an interesting, sometimes overlooked impact on our Catholic faith. On FaithWorks, we share their stories. I'm your host, Ellen White. Today, we're blessed to welcome back a familiar and much loved voice, Dr. Ray Guarendi. He's a clinical psychologist, father of 10, speaker, and of course, the host of The Doctor is In, which can be heard here daily, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Dr. Ray has a gift for blending faith, wit, wisdom, humor, of course. And he's here today to talk about his newest book, How to Get Along with Almost Everybody in a World Where Division Can So Easily Take Root. This message feels more timely than ever. Dr. Ray, welcome back. And you know, I'm already laughing in anticipation of what this conversation is going to entail. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We really appreciate it.
I'm a little nervous, Ellen.
No, you're
the title
not.
Of your show, FaithWorks, you know,
Yes.
when I was in the evangelical world, we were not allowed to say that.
I know.
You know?
Yes.
So you need to say maybe just faith alone or something if you want to appeal to all the evangelical audience.
Well, you know what? You're taking us on a good direction. Why is it faith and works?
It's always been that way in the history of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the works are motivated by God's grace, and the works do not save us. I remember when I was in the evangelical world, that was just a torrid accusation. We had a debate one Sunday. I know I'm getting off track, but we had a debate in my evangelical Bible study. Was Mother Teresa a Christian? The consensus was that she was not, because she obviously felt she had to do these works to be saved. Mm. That was the interpretation. Mm. And that's how extreme it can become.
And where you sat as a fallen away Catholic, what did you think about the debate and the discussion? Were you leading it?
At that point, I was not yet back in the Catholic Church. I was looking that way because I was struggling with an awful lot of the logic of my evangelical world. And I thought, this is really a twist. To take someone who clearly is motivated by a love for Christ to serve the toughest of the tough, and to then question the very thing they're doing, to question their allegiance to Christ, make absolutely no sense. But it was the extreme perspective that can take you to. If you say it is faith alone and works don't play any part in any of this, you have to ignore literally dozens of scripture verses that talk about that.
This is definitely a discussion for another day, Dr. Ray. I would love to go deeply into this whole topic with you.
Sure.
And it obviously impacted you enough for you to remember it to this day, too. So thanks be to God you're in the church and sitting with me, talking about your new book, How to Get Along with Almost Everybody. So in this book, you cover a tremendous range, impressive actually, of topics from why even try, watch your language, to, and I love this, unoffendability. I don't think that's a word. Snark remarks, and almost everybody. But today we'll focus on 5 key things. So effort and motivation, understanding difficult people and language, me included in that, communication and interest, emotional regulation and patience, and arguments and criticism. So for someone who's never read it, what's the core idea you want to pass along to people to take away?
I probably should preface this, Ellen. You know where it says almost everybody?
Yes.
if you look on the back cover, your picture is right
I
there.
know.
Under almost.
Or not this one.
Yeah, you were the almost. There's no offense. I don't mean it, to be hurtful.
Yes, I've got a lot of work to do, Dr. Ray.
There's two things I think that would be umbrella perspectives in this book. One is there is a lot you can do to soften up difficult people. And I talk about some of the things you can do to soften them up. The other is that much of what we consider difficult from people, whether they're unpleasant, whether they're mean-spirited, whether they're critical, whether they're snotty, whatever it might be that wears upon us, we don't have to let that get to us if we accept that we can't change them. And if it's my mother-in-law, which is my wife's mother, so therefore I can't write her out of my life, that would have complications. So I have to figure out how to allow her remarks that she makes pretty consistently about my parenting or my faith or my job, whatever it might be, to not get to me. And this is not a matter of, well, just ignore it. No, it's not a matter of ignoring it. It's a matter of dropping your expectations. She's done it 100 times. Why are you still getting upset over it? Have you not come to the conclusion this is the way she is? Does number 100 snark remark bother you as much as number 16? Yes, it does. Why? Cumulative effect. No, it should go the other way. You should be less bothered by repetitive remarks because they lose credibility. Ellen, if you say to me, Ray, after the interview, I don't think I'm going to ask you back. So why is that? Well, no offense, buddy, but you're just not a great interviewee. Now, that's the first time you've ever told me that. So I'd have to consider it. But if I found out through back channels that your opinion of me was that he's not very good, he's sarcastic, he's snarky, you got to watch him, I don't really like his style, etc. Not that I've heard that 5,000 times, but if that's how you view me, then I'm not going to be surprised that you would say, Ray, I'm not having you back. I know this. This is how you think. Okay, I can't change the way you think, but we demand it, Ellen. What we do is we say, I don't want my mother-in-law to be that way. Why does she have to make those remarks? I don't do that to her. I don't deserve that. We do this in our mind to keep ourselves agitated when in fact we should say, or we'd be better off saying, well, no shock. I know the way she is. Snark number 101 isn't going to be a surprise to me. Same old, same old.
Dr. Ray, I've heard people say, and actually this was recent, like a couple weeks ago, that in this particular instance even, when you are expecting this kind of a reaction, and instead of responding the way that we typically do, to think of 2 or 3 things about that person that you're grateful for. How realistic is that?
When we call somebody difficult, what we're really saying is there are aspects of their personality that we find difficult. They may not be difficult to all people. Other people might love them. Other people might think they're the easiest people in the world to be around. So when I say someone is difficult, I am really saying, with me, some percentage of the time, they do these things that I don't like. So I use the word difficult. Now, you mentioned something in the beginning of the interview, Ellen, and I think this is key. We shrink types. We coin words. And our words diffuse into the popular language. And there are 3 terms that I think are horridly overused. They can color a relationship. They can make it seem much, much, much worse than it is, or they can make it seem it's unreachable. One of those words is toxic. That's a terrible word. It's poisonous. It's ugly. To say somebody is toxic, what are you saying? It's almost like saying they're evil. That's the first thing. So I'd rather say they're difficult than toxic. Difficult means I can possibly tolerate them. Toxic means, hey, I better get them out of my life. Second term, narcissist. Narcissism, Ellen, is a serious personality disorder. It describes someone who is so self-absorbed, so self-centered, so unable to be empathic that they can't relate to almost anybody. All too often, we call somebody a narcissist because, well, they're self-absorbed with us, or we find their behavior at many levels very difficult for us. So we call it a narcissist.
What do you mean self-absorbed with us? So their focus is primarily on us?
No, they're self-absorbed around us.
I see.
Toward us. We think, well, this guy doesn't understand how I feel. This guy apparently, and this happens a lot in relationships and marriage. My husband's a narcissist. My wife is a narcissist. Once you do that, once you tag somebody that way, you're really saying they are seriously disturbed. They are riddled with personal pathology, and therefore they're unreachable. You've basically written them off in so many words. And then this is the one I got in trouble with on the radio. Some lady emailed me, and she just chewed me up one side and down the other. Emotional abuse. The word abuse used to be a pretty strong word. Sexual, physical. We moved it into the realm of emotions. And what tends to happen, Ellen, you can be critical to me. You can unload on me. You can scream at me. But whether that is emotionally abusive to me depends upon me. I have to decide whether I'm going to be emotionally abused by your nastiness. Now, I got in trouble with that because some lady emailed me and she said, how dare you? Because a woman called in and she said, my husband is emotionally abusive. I said, what's he do? And then she said it. I said, you mean he's critical? Yeah, oh, very critical, very critical. He'll put me down, very critical. I said, okay. Now you realize that is the way he is, but you don't have to be emotionally abused by it. And the letter writer said, how dare you say that? The implication was it's automatic. He acts that way, she's going to feel emotionally abused. And I said, it doesn't have to be automatic. I may not like it. I may hate it. It may disgust me. But if you're going to emotionally abuse me, I got to cooperate. I got to let those words do that to me.
It's a two-way street. So the spouse is abusing you emotionally, but it's how you respond to that emotional abuse that makes it emotional abuse, is what you're saying.
I'm saying it's not even emotional abuse from the spouse. It's nasty. It's nasty. It's critical. It's mean-spirited. It's put downish. Yes, I don't deny any of that. But whether you feel emotionally abused and you call it that, a lot of times depends upon you. You know, if you're going to be critical of me constantly, you're just critical of me. At some point, I'm going to have to conclude, what's your problem? What is it with you? How insecure are you that you have to constantly try to put me down? And once I start doing that, your words do not have that impact on me. I don't have to be rocked automatically by what you say. The only thing I have to worry about, Ellen, is it true? That's the only thing I have to be concerned about. What you're telling me is true, then I got to think about it. But if it's not true in my best judgment, and I think you're full of crap, then those words are going to lose their potency to make me feel emotionally abused.
This brings me back to the comments about the mother-in-law or the frustration that rises up in us individually when we encounter people that are driving us crazy. And I heard one time, Dr. Ray, that the things that drive us absolutely bonkers about somebody else and what they're doing are usually a reflection of ourselves. What are your thoughts on that?
That can be.
Not always.
I don't think it's a general rule.
Okay.
No. Because all too often people will say, I don't treat them that way.
You're right. You're right.
And that's true. You don't. I mean, if you are a Christian, here's another point I make in the book. I call it the law of social reciprocity. It's a mindset we have that says, I expect you to treat me the way I treat you. Mm. If I don't treat you badly, then I don't expect you to treat me badly. If I don't make snotty remarks to you, well, I would think you're not going to make snotty remarks to me. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, you know what it is? It's a reverse golden rule. The golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Mm-hmm. This is a reverse of that. It says, if I do unto others well, they will do well unto me. Well, that's not what the golden rule says at all. And as a Christian, we operate by a different set of principles. I'm supposed to be forgiving to you, Ellen, whether you're forgiving to me or not. Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to be charitable and kind to you to the best of my ability and God's grace, whether you are to me or not. This might surprise you. I've had people storm out of my office, and you can expect that because they don't want to hear necessarily the kinds of things that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. It happens seldom, but it has happened. Who do you think that has been more often? What kind of individuals would you think? And I know this is a broad question; it could be hard to answer.
No, I think.
Go ahead, take a guess.
I would say that it's the ones that you said maybe directly they have issues that they need to work on, or they're offended by what you're saying is a pressing issue with them individually.
You are right on, and the individuals are Christians. They will come in, and this is not unusual. I've had this happen. And in the cases I've known, it's been the wives, where they have talked their husband into coming in because the wives are considering themselves much more faith-filled Christians, and the husbands are at best lukewarm or not believers at all. And the wife's view is, well, if we had a Christian marriage, we'd have a better marriage, which is true, but they don't have a Christian marriage. And their anger is directed toward their husband because they're the holy one. The wife is the holy one. The husband is not the holy one. So if I were to say, and I've delicately approached this, ever so delicately, I said, well, you understand that you operate out of a different set of principles. What you believe in terms of forgiveness, in terms of tolerance, in terms of charity, he doesn't necessarily believe because he's not a Christian. You are. That makes them so mad. How dare you imply that I'm the one who has to do more in this marriage? I already do more in this marriage. What I was trying to do is just get them to the point where they could recognize that they're not going to be so frustrated by the fact that he isn't acting like a Christian when he's not that much of a Christian.
I have so many questions at this point. There's so many different things that are floating around in my head. But I want to say, in my own experience, I found that more often than not, men just want to please their wives. And if they've been battered for so long by the emotional comments, Christian or not, from their wife, they're going to back away and not want to respond at all. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, man, you are tiptoeing all around stuff you're not supposed to say in public. All right, I'll one-up you.
Okay, go ahead.
When I have a couple in my office whose marriage is troubled, and there isn't necessarily pathology. There's not adulterous relationships. There's not gambling. There's not alcoholism. There's not abuse.
Right.
These are two people trying to get along, and they've just gotten to the point where they don't like each other. More often than not, the more discontented spouse is the wife. because she sees these things more emotionally.
Yes.
She analyzes them more. She feels frustrated more that her quote unquote emotional needs are not being met. So therefore she's more discontent. And it isn't all that unusual where the husband might say, I thought everything was perfect, and she's telling me she wants a divorce. Now, one could say, well, the husbands are oblivious. What the heck? Yes. What are you, stoned? Don't you pay attention? Don't you listen? Yeah, certainly there's part of that there. But I think that because women are more naturally attuned to relationships and emotional give and take and all that stuff, they can become more discontent more quickly about more things. Now, that's a gross generalization. And don't send me any ugly emails, people, please. Okay? Because I'm not going to feel emotionally abused by your email. Just understand that. But that can happen. My wife one time was this
Poor
was back
Randy.
I've been carrying her dead butt for years, and I've about had it. So she gets a call from about 5 or 6 women from the church. And after she hung up, she said to me, you know what I think? I think they want to be married to a woman who can lift heavy things.
Yeah.
And open jars.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they were so discontent with their husband, so discontent. He's just not doing this right. He's not doing that right. And I think you're absolutely right. A lot of guys, and this is something I sometimes have to get back in marriage counseling, a lot of guys are thinking, hey, look, I can't do anything right. I'm just feeling like whatever I'm doing here is falling short. Now, that may or may not be true. It's hard to know. You got to peel back the onion.
Right.
But there's, nevertheless, that is a perception that you have to deal with.
I think, Dr. Ray, you're just at a disadvantage in your practice because you're a man, and it's...
Oh, I've gotten that one. Oh, you know what? The irony, Ellen, is I bend over backwards for the women.
I know.
Because I don't want to be accused of saying, well, you're a guy, you don't understand how a woman thinks. That's an interesting invalidation, because oftentimes when people say, well, have you lived my experience? Have you walked in my shoes? Then don't advise me. And I would say, if that were true, the only people I could see is aging psychologists who have been to a marriage with a woman for 40 years and have a bunch of kids. I couldn't deal with any criminals because I've never been a criminal. I couldn't deal with anybody who's had an adulterous affair because I've never had an adulterous affair. I couldn't deal with anybody who's pathologically involved in drugs because, well, I've never been involved in drugs. I couldn't deal with any difficult antisocial adolescents because I never was one. You see how quickly I could never immerse myself in any situation. And that when somebody says that to you, Ellen, then this is just something I'm going to share with your listeners. When somebody says that, when they say you don't know because you haven't experienced it, you haven't walked it, what they're saying is, I don't want to hear what you have to say.
So we just drop our expectations and move on. If you're just tuning in, this is Ellen White with FaithWorks on Divine Mercy Radio. And I'm talking today with Dr. Ray Guarendi about his new book, How to Get Along with Almost Everybody. And we're thankful for our show's sponsor, Thales College. Wow, I've got so many kind of backup questions to cover with what we've talked about previously. So, you talked about terms toxic and narcissist and how it just cuts off the conversation and you can't, or, cuts off the relationship and you can't move beyond that. And it makes me think, Dr. Ray, of the terms that were thrown around so much before with attention deficit disorder. And when you put these labels on people, it stops. And there's almost no more relationship. So there's so much more to that that we could cover. I don't know. I think for me, it's helped me to just be present with the people that are in front of me and loving them where they are, dropping, like you said, my own expectation of who they are, recognizing who I am, and the big old beam in my own eye, and doing my best to move beyond that. What would you say to that?
Definition of frustration. It is the gap between the way we want something to be and the way it is. And oftentimes we can't alter the way it is. We are forced to alter the way we want it to be. If my father is a curmudgeon, he's difficult, and I'm going to assume that my father is older than me, then he has habits that have been in place for decades. And for me to continue to demand that he not be the way he is only frustrating for me. Someone might say, well, no, you have to tell him how you think, how you feel. I say, yes, of course. And most people have tried. What frustrates us is when they don't change. We've pointed it out. We've shared feelings. We've done all the emotional, psychologically communicative stuff. And they don't look at you and respond, oh, you know, I never looked at it that way before. Thank you, Ray, so much for pointing out that flaw in my personality. I'm so motivated to change now that you've enlightened me. No, they don't. They get defensive, or they accuse you of the same thing, or they ignore you. And it's not because they're bad people. It's just because they're just protecting their own ego. And most people who get frustrated at relatives and friends who are difficult, it's because they don't know they're difficult. It's one of the definitions of difficult, Ellen. I don't know I'm difficult. If I knew I was difficult, I wouldn't be as difficult. I'd be a little more open.
Well, I mean, you talk about communication, and instead of harping on the fact that they're not the way you want them to be, wouldn't it be better to be more positive and encouraging by offering like small compliments or something, or showing interest?
Well, yeah, you're putting the other aspect of that book under the light, which is, say, for example, you got a brother-in-law who is a know-it-all. Anything you do, he's going to critique it because he knows more than you about it. And he fancies himself an expert on cars. You bought a car and he asked about it, and he's clearly taking your decision apart. And you're thinking, oh, come on, shut up. I didn't ask your opinion. I don't care what you think about the car. I like the car. What if you said, how did you learn so much about cars? How do you know these things? I guarantee you he'll soften. Well, I read a lot, and I guess, there's positives to your car. I've noticed that too. That'll happen more often than not if you do something like that. Or if you show an interest in someone. Did you ever meet somebody, Ellen, where you walk away after a half an hour and your first impression is extremely positive? It's like, wow, I really like her.
Because you were talking about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. She was asking all about you. Me. And that is so easy to do. Mm-hmm. When you get in a conversation with somebody, you ask about them. You ask about their hobbies. You ask about their kids. You ask about their job, their faith, whatever it is. You ask about it. And you don't have to ask a whole lot of questions to keep people going.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
It's not that you're trying to be tricky or manipulative. You're showing a genuine interest.
Yes.
And you'll find that softens people. It truly does. Do you ever see a parallel conversation? Here's how it goes. Well, my son, we've looked at some colleges this weekend, and he's narrowed it down to 3. Oh, yeah, I remember when we did that to my daughter. We traveled a couple places, and we looked at a couple colleges. Yeah, my son got a scholarship. He got a scholarship to such and such a place, and we're thinking that'll really help with the money. I know that. When my daughter got her scholarship, you see what it's just this parallel conversation. You shut up, then I'm going to talk. Nobody said, well, how'd your son get the scholarship? What did he do? Was it a social scholarship, or is it because of his grades or athletics? What was it? See, nobody broke off of their conversation. Mm-hmm. It was a parallel conversation is what it was.
And are you saying that's a good thing?
That's a bad thing.
Oh, because you want it to go deeper and you want to be interested in the individual.
I want to be interested in you. If you're going to tell me your daughter looked at colleges, I'm going to say which ones.
Yes.
If you're going to tell me your daughter got a scholarship, I'm going to ask why. What kind of scholarship? Was it academic? Was it? I'm not going to say, yeah, when my son got that one too, it was really helpful to us because he got an academic scholarship. And, only about 4 guys from his high school got an academic scholarship and then a baseball scholarship too. All of a sudden, I'm going to tell you about me. You know what this reflects? This reflects those Christmas letters.
Yes.
My son Elvis had his 6th birthday this year, and he got visits from the Pope and the Beatles. And my husband Forbes just got promoted to the top salesman of the Milky Way. You get these things like, oh, come on.
Yes, right.
I used to write those for years. Ella and I wrote those, and they were satires. I'd say things like, my son James is in the 3rd grade. He's making straight A's. Now, his B's are a little crooked, but and that's what I would say.
Yeah,
the whole letter was like that.
We have Christmas cards and Facebook daily now, don't we?
Oh, yeah. It's like Christmas letters on steroids.
All right. So it's okay even to compliment my spouse for folding his socks neatly. That would be a good communication strategy.
Have you heard of the law of inertia?
What? They fall to the ground. He can't help it.
Okay, you're close. You're close. The law of inertia is a physical law, and it rules the universe. It says everything decays. Everything decays. The sun will burn out eventually. Your body's going to age. Iron rusts. Everything decays. If that studio you're sitting in right now, 200 years from now, they're not going to be able to find it. Okay, it's just going to be buried. There is a parallel law. The law of social inertia. That means if I'm married to you for 28 years, I don't compliment you like I used to. I complimented you more in the first year than I've complimented you in the next 27.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say please and thank you like I used to. As a matter of fact, my manners aren't as good as a 5-year-old's. I don't thank you for putting coffee in front of me in the morning. I might say, hey, get me a cup of coffee, would you? Oh, okay, that's a nice way to ask, but it's certainly not gratitude. So what happens is it's not so much that the relationship is bad.
Mm-hmm.
It just gets lazy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's what happens. You don't do the things that were once a little more part of the relationship because, she knows I love her. If anything changes, I'll tell her.
I did hear from a priest one time that said it's important to act like you're courting consistently in your marriage. And that will be helpful, especially for the women. I think the guys don't really care, except for the occasional please and thank you. Maybe, I don't know. I think I'm down on women today. I need to stop that. And,
here's the question. All right, I'm going to throw a question out here that I think will summarize this whole marriage thing. Who would your spouse say that you treat the best? You want them to say themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want them to say, well, I wish I got some of the compliments that she gives to the people at church. Oh man, I wish he was as nice to me as he is to the ladies at work. Oh yeah, of course, everybody thinks he's a great guy on a golf course. I'd like a few of those compliments myself. If you don't want to say that as a spouse, you don't want your spouse to say that about you if you want to have a good marriage. You want your spouse to say, my spouse treats me better than he treats anybody else, even though we live together, even though we know all of our weak points and all of our soft spots, he still treats me better than he treats anybody else.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great point. I did hear just recently that it's so much easier to complain. The first words out of our mouth are complaints than it is to be encouraging. So for whatever that's worth. And
have you heard of the law of negativity bias?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Negativity bias is what neurologists, psychologists call our predisposition.
Mm-hmm.
It's wired into us. It is a factor in our brains because we have to be alert to negative, threatening things. Those are the things that can take us down. And what happens is that vigilance for risk or for danger also is vigilance for the negative. Mm-hmm. That's why news media, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yes.
Of course. That's what's going to appeal to people.
Yes.
So the tendency in us is to focus more on the negative than what's going right. I got up this morning and I got in a shower. Well, I just took that for granted, but for almost all of human history, nobody had showers. And even now, the majority of the world doesn't have hot showers. But I just got in the shower. Oh, okay. I looked out the window. I can see. I can see out the window. Some people can't see. I went to my medicine chest and I opened it up, and there's medication in there that's prolonging my health and my life. Well, prior to the last 100 years, that wasn't possible. Life expectancy was 40 to 50 years old. It's now 80. Well, all of this stuff just floats by me. I just ignore it. But let me get a flat tire and it ruins my day.
Mm-hmm. So push against the negativity bias with a positive attitude.
You have to, you know what it is? It's like lifting weights. You have to actively do it. Because your inclination is to notice the negative or what goes wrong much more than what is positive in your life that has always been there.
Well, and you bring up an interesting point, Dr. Ray. How do we handle frustration without letting repeated behaviors push us over the edge? If it's an attitude of gratitude?
If it's repeated, that should be easier to deal with than occasional. Let's say that your mother is basically a sweet person, but she just made one remark that just, where's that coming from about your motherhood? That hurts. It's like, whoa, I didn't expect that from my mom. On the other hand, if that's her style, then you recognize, oh, well, what did I expect? Okay, nothing new here. Nothing new to be heard. That's what she does. I don't like it, but I don't have to let it get to me. I think part of what happens too is people say, that makes you a doormat. No, it makes you the exact opposite. I'm a doormat if you can yank me around emotionally by what you say. You control me now. I'm the doormat. If you can't do that to me, because I simply don't allow it, I look at it as, what do I expect? This way the person is, has been, probably will be.
Exactly.
All right? I don't want to write my dad out of my life, which is unfortunately all too often what too many therapists tell these young adults to do. Write your parents out of your life. They're toxic. You need to set boundaries. They didn't raise you right. Get your own space. I mean, that seems to be now an epidemic among therapists. And it's tragic because they don't come from a Christian perspective. Their attitude is look out for number one. And if your parents are hurting number one, get rid of them.
Yes, it's epidemic proportions. And I think that you're talking about unoffendability, Dr. Ray. Is that really a word?
I made it up. It's a neologism. Now that's a real word. Neologism's a real word. Unoffendability. A Christian should be the hardest person to offend.
Absolutely.
Because when we get offended, what we're really saying is, I expect and I demand that people are going to treat me with respect, with honor, with consideration, with regard for my feelings. That's what I demand. And when they don't, I'm going to be offended. I ask people, who is the only person who ever lived who committed no sin against anyone? And of course, if it's a Christian, they'll say, our Lord. And I'll say, so did people say, what a great guy? I'll tell you, I really like being around him. Or did they kill him?
That's right.
Are we better than Christ? Do I deserve better treatment than Christ?
That's such an excellent reminder, Dr. Ray. All right. So I want to we have a couple of minutes here left, 8 to be exact. You talk about arguments and criticism and the best approach for those. Why do you say that silence is sometimes more powerful than talking? And I would even argue more silence is better than talking for women.
Somebody comes into my office and they share with me unbelievably rot gut stuff. How they've hurt people, how they've destroyed their marriage, how they are shunning folks in their lives. If I were to say, what are you, an idiot? Don't you see what you're doing? It's ridiculous. You want to act like this? Then be stupid. I suspect, Ellen, that they wouldn't come back. They'd kind of leave the session right then and there. So what I have to do is I have to shut up. I have to hear what they're saying, even though I think it's ridiculous, even though I think it's hurtful and self-destructive. I have to shut up. I got to hear it. And then the next step is I got to get inside their head. I got to find out exactly what motivates this? What's going on? What do they think is going to happen when they do this? What has happened when they do this? A guy will come into my office with his wife, and she'll say, I wish just once he would stick up for me with his mother. And I'll say to the guy, do you know why she thinks that? Not really. Have you asked her? Yeah. What does she say? Well, she tells me that she wishes I would stick up for her with her mother. Anything else? Well, I'm not sure. That's clearly making the point. He hasn't asked her. He doesn't know why she thinks she doesn't stick up for him with her mother. He doesn't. You got to get inside somebody's head. That breaks down an argument. Mm-hmm. Somebody comes to you and says, I think a woman should be able to choose whether that baby in her womb is born or not. Mm-hmm. Now, if I say, well, I think it's murder, the discussion's over. It's done. If I say, how'd you come to that conclusion? Well, it's her body. Okay, fair enough. Is there a baby's body involved? What do you do with the baby's body? Well, as long as it's in her body, it's her body, and that rules over the baby. Well, how old does the baby have to be in her body then, according to your thinking? In other words, you're just kind of taking them all out. You tell me why you think this way. Mm-hmm. Most people, Ellen, in an argument, aren't really sure why they think that way. They're digging their heels in. I had a friend one time. He was in the evangelical world. He's Catholic now, but we were talking, and I was heading towards Catholic. And I was asking him questions about how he saw things religiously. And oh my gosh, the more I asked him questions, the madder he got. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm getting nowhere here. That's not working. He told me later, on the drive home, he said to his wife, did I sound as stupid as I think I sounded? And so those questions, I didn't argue with him about what he was saying. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to know why he was saying it. And ultimately, he became Catholic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you bring up a really good point then, Dr. Ray. How do we correct someone or give constructive criticism without making things worse? I mean, it by appearances with this particular situation, with him getting more and more frustrated, it would look like it wasn't working. Eventually it did. Yeah. So do we just use the Socratic method and keep asking questions? If we have the foresight to do that, yeah, that's true.
You read the cues.
Yes.
For example, I was not likely to bring up that subject again with him because all appearances he was mad.
Right.
So you read the cues. I'll ask people when your relative makes those kinds of remarks all the time, have you approached it? Oh yeah. They know I don't like it. They can tell by my eye roll. They can tell. Okay, fair enough. Well, how many times have you tried? Oh boy. Yeah, every time I try, it's an argument. Right. Let it go, Louie. You're not going to correct them. It's not going to happen. It's like the parent who says, my daughter's living with her boyfriend. She knows how we feel about this. You told her, right? Yes. Well, you raised her for 20 years, so obviously she knows how you feel, right? Right. So don't say any more. No, no, I can't let that go. Well, you got to let it go because you're pushing your daughter away. Mm. So you read the cues. Mm-hmm. You know when to hold them and when to fold them.
Thank you, Kenny Rock.
There's a lot of people in my life that are actively proclaiming they're devout Catholics, and yet they're living in a way that is clearly not devout Catholic. I know if I were to try to correct them, I'd ruin the relationship. Mm. I know it. So I just quietly bide my time and pray and hope that events shine some light on what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. So let's wrap this up, Dr. Ray. If you could give one piece of advice to improve most relationships instantly, what would it be?
Quit getting yourself upset.
Yes.
The way people are. Cut it out. Just keep in mind, too, that they may think you're a jerk.
Mm-hmm. And backing away, silence. I love the silence part. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh,
you got to know when to speak up and when not to. Mm-hmm. We Catholics, we tend to think I got to correct them morally. And if I don't correct them morally, then I'm going to be held accountable. Scripture says that in the Old Testament. You don't correct an evil man, then you're accountable for his evil. But there's other scripture verses when our Lord says, shake the dust off your feet after you've tried twice.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not that straightforward. And you got to decide when you're going to get somewhere, you make a judgment, and when you're going to ruin the relationship.
That's the best point ever, right? And I love you've said many times, Dr. Ray, too, that even when Christ was walking the world and he had disciples turn away from him, who do we think we are? Oh, so good. So good. So many
Those
good
people
pointers.
need to recognize what a holy person I am.
Right. All right. So where can our listeners go to get more information about you, Dr. Ray, or to order a copy of your book?
All 19 of my books are on my website, drray.com, and they are signed and they are discounted.
drray.com, and they're all, and I've seen so many of them over the years, and they're on my bookshelf. You do sound
smarter, Ellen. You didn't used to sound this smart.
I know. It's all because of you and your amazing insight. Really, I truly appreciate everything that you do, Dr. Ray. Thank you so much.
Well, I am getting older, and hold on one second. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. All right. So how to get along with almost everybody feels like a little cheat sheet for surviving and enjoying our relationship. So we really appreciate you sharing this with us. And listeners, please pick up a copy of the book. You will not be disappointed. God bless you, Dr. Ray, and your ministry.
Thanks, Ellen. You too.
Okay. If you missed any part of this episode or want to catch up on past conversations filled with inspiration and hope, you can find them at divinemercyradio.org. Just click on local shows. And don't forget, you can take FaithWorks with you wherever you go. Just download the free Divine Mercy Radio app from your app store. Simply search Divine Mercy Radio NC, and you're all set to listen anytime, anywhere. Until next time, keep living your faith boldly, because faith works. God bless.